Hi, hello, welcome. It's been a while since I've done a Friday stream. Happy to be back. We're going to give folks like a few minutes to pop in. I just sent the go live tweet. We're going to play a solo game tonight, and we're going to play solo games all weekend. Actually, tonight is just the sort of the taste of what's to come for the weekend, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. Um, yeah, how you doing? How's everyone doing? I see a few of you here, so if you want to lurk, that is totally okay. If you want to tell me how you're doing in chat, do that as well. I think I don't want to jinx anything. I think winter is over where I am. We've had sort of weird, crazy weather. Um, I don't normally like to use the C word, but in this case, I think it applies. The weather has been extremely dysfunctional. Um, and yeah, pause for bottle opening ASMR. I don't know if the microphone picked that up or not. Um, but I normally pour my drinks before the stream starts, but I wanted to show off the mug I was drinking out of tonight. Number one, it is a very large mug. I don't know if you can see that. It is about the size of my face. But also, it's a mug that is like very precious to me because I got it back when I was managing a gaming store in the 90s. Um, from the rep for Chaosium Games at the time, because we were um, selling a lot of Chaosium stuff, a lot of Call of Cthulhu, a lot of the new um, Cthulhu card game had come out, and we were selling a bunch of that stuff as well. And so the rep had actually come up to say, like, hadn't come up specifically for us, but had come up to say hello and say, thank you to a bunch of stores in Canada that were carrying Chaosium stuff. Yeah, I got this sweet mug. It is a Miskatonic University rally mug. I don't know if how well you can read that. But it says here, let me see if I can, there we go. That's probably a little bit better. Miskatonic University, go pods. Miskatonic University, famously home of the fighting cephalopods. Let's talk a little bit about what is going to happen tonight and what is going to happen this weekend. Tonight, I am playing Lingering by Meghan Cross. It is a fantastic two-page solo TTRPG. It is normally a journaling game, but as I normally do with journaling games on stream, I'm going to talk through, I think, what my character is going to do. And then, so essentially video journaling instead of like writing it down in a journal. Yeah, we'll take it from there. All right, so the game that we're playing tonight is called Lingering. As I said, it's by Meghan Cross. It's not a long game, it's only 2 pages long, but it is absolutely beautiful. And I could explain it to you, or I could just read the words that Meghan has written. The last thing you remember, you were dying. Now, breath fills your lungs once more, and your eyes open, slowly shifting side to side as you attempt to regain your bearings. You are alive, but you are changed. Your human form is gone. In its place is one that is different, foreign, animal. You don't fully understand what is happening, but what you do understand is that there is a reason why you have been given this second chance. There is something you must do before you can move on for good and find eternal rest. A Siren Song game, Lingering, by Meghan Cross. Unfinished business in your life has kept you from moving on after your death. Only once you are able to settle the business keeping you here can you move on to the afterlife. To begin, answer the questions below about yourself and what is keeping you from moving on. While you were alive once more, you were no longer as you were while you were alive. What animal form have you been brought back in? What detail sets you apart from other animals of the same species? I think for the purposes of tonight, I have come back in the form of a fox. And I think what sets me apart from other foxes is that, the classic sort of like red fox has the white, sort of the white socks and the white nose, but everything else is that sort of bright red. I think instead of that reddish color, I think instead my fox is like a deep green, like almost a deep emerald green. But otherwise, is a perfectly normal fox, apart from looking just like deep emerald green. Something is keeping you from your eternal rest. What unfinished business is keeping you here? Why is it so important for this business to be settled? I think maybe I never got a chance to tell someone how much they meant to me. I had always meant to, but the opportunity was never right. Maybe they didn't feel the same, like it was obvious they didn't feel the same way about me. I guess like unrequited love. Yeah, let's go unrequited love, because that's the stronger choice then, I guess. Unrequited love. So yeah, and I think it was just never, there was never a good time. I didn't want to impose my feelings onto them when they didn't feel the same way. That didn't seem fair. But if that's what I need to do to pass on, then I think in this case that's what I'm going to do. Also, yeah, I think maybe they were at a point where it was difficult for them to maybe believe that anybody felt that way about them. They were like particularly down on themselves, didn't think anybody, and that was sort of like, I was at a point where it was like, okay, well, I'm going to tell them, even though I don't expect them to do anything about it, just so that they know that, yeah, somebody does love them like that. And then I passed away and didn't get a chance to do that. So I want to do that as much for myself as to let them know that, no, you were very much loved, and if it can happen once, it can happen again. So don't give up on yourself. Until you are able to convey your final message to someone living, you cannot pass on. Who do you choose to give this message to? Why have you chosen them? So I think the obvious answer is I'm going to tell the person that I was in love with. And I've chosen them because, like, it doesn't seem right. Like, even if I was alive and deciding to, I wouldn't talk to anybody else about how I feel about them. I would go to them first. Like, it didn't seem right. It wouldn't seem right to go and talk to anybody else about it. So the same thing now that I'm now that I'm a green fox trying to tell them that I love them. It doesn't seem right to go to anybody else to try and pass along this message. I should take it directly to the source, because really I should have done that while I was still alive. And I may have felt I had good reasons for not doing it then, but now that the situation is what it is, now that I need to sort of like do this in order to move on, I'm going to go talk to them about it. To begin, shuffle the deck of cards and flip the top card into the play space. Lingering is played over the course of 8 rounds as you attempt to communicate with your chosen human in order to settle the unfinished business keeping you from moving on after death. Rounds are played by first selecting an adjective from the provided list that will provide the tone of that round's attempt to communicate with the human. Once you have chosen your guiding adjective, look at the current face-up card in the play space and predict whether the next card revealed will be lower or higher in value. Whether aces are considered higher or lower is up to you. I'm going to play the ace high. So When you have made your choice, reveal the next card from the deck. And the way it works is, if I'm correct in my guess, then my attempt to communicate was successful, and I'm one step closer to being free of my animal form and moving on. Great. If I was incorrect, this attempt was unsuccessful, and I'll have to try again another time. Once the success or failure of your attempt has been determined, recount the events of this attempt in your journal in as much or as little detail as you see fit. And then you repeat this process over the course of 8 rounds. And you either repeat it until you have been successful 5 times or have completed 8 rounds. And if at the end of 8 rounds I've been successful 5 times, then I have successfully communicated what I needed to this human and can move on. If at the end of 8 rounds I haven't done that, though, the game still ends, but I remain in my animal form, and I will wander for several years before I'm able to find someone else to help me. So sort of lose the game, but it's not really lose. It's just things are delayed. So it does leave the possibility of like coming back, and playing again with the same creature and like a different human. I'm going to switch up the order of that a little bit. I'm still going to pick the guiding adjective, but before I flip the card to see whether I succeed or fail, I'm going to talk a little bit about like sort of what that moment looks like and what I'm trying to do. Then we'll flip the card to see if I succeed or fail, talk a little bit about what that looks like, and then we'll move on to the next round. This is just a small change that I'm making because I'm not actually journaling this. I'm like video journaling it. I'm talking it out with you. So that seems like the better way to go. Okay, so just for the record, the first card that I flipped over was the 4 of diamonds. Not that the diamonds means anything, but it's a 4. So I think I'm going to say the next card is going to be higher. And I mean, like, yeah, here's hoping that I flip over like a bunch of cards at the extremes. I would love to flip over some like 2s and kings just to, you know, make it easier on myself. But we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to guess the next card is going to be higher. And guiding adjective. So the ones you can choose an adjective of your own if you like. The 10 that are included here are angry, boisterous, cheery, desperate, exuberant, hopeful, secretive, serious, timid, and tired. And I think for the first one I'm going to choose timid, because I'm like newly in this form. I'm a green fox, and that is, I mean, that's just objectively that's weird, right? Like that's not even a subjective thing. I was a living human at one point in time. I died, and now I'm a green fox. So yeah, just sort of getting my bearings and figuring out, but I know I have to go communicate with this person somehow. I need to tell them how I feel about them or how I felt about them. Yeah, tenses are going to be very difficult for a little bit. So I think, yeah, timid is sort of the name of the game. I'm not quite sure how to communicate to them. I don't think, like, if I'm a green fox, I don't think I can actually, like, you know, what does the fox say? Well, nothing in English. Like, you know, I can't speak like a human. Just don't have the vocal cords for it. So I have to find other ways of communicating that, like, hey, it's me, and yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But I think it starts by I have to get them to notice me but not be scared of me, because if they just get frightened and like call animal control or something, then I wind up in animal control, and who knows what happens to me at that point in time. If animal control gets a hold of like a green fox, who knows what they're going to do with it, right? So, I think I start off small. I find like maybe there was like a picnic we went on, or a trip to the beach or something like that, and she had a particular fondness for like a type of stone. So I think I go and find like, you know some of those stones, and I carry them in my mouth, and sort of like lay them out on the porch, or on her porch or on her front step or whatever, where she'll notice them and be like, oh, that's weird, because they're definitely stones that wouldn't be like in this area where we lived. Maybe they're like smooth river rocks or something like that. You would only find them in like a river. Those like black or gray stones that are like very, very smooth because the water is just rushing over them all the time. And so I leave one of those, where she can find them, and then just sort of wait for her to see me. And then maybe when she notices me, before she can like freak out or anything like that, I'll drop like another stone so she knows they're coming for me. Hopefully that will make her curious, enough to, I don't know, not call animal control, not chuck a brick at me. Okay, so as a reminder, the card was a 4. I said the next card is going to be higher, so let's flip it over and see. And I flipped over a 10. So yeah, it was successful. I think, I sort of like left a few of them on her doormat. Let's say she lives in a house, she's got like a porch or something like that. So I left a few on the doormat, and she came outside and noticed them. And about the same time where she noticed them and sort of like looked around to see like, well, where did these like special rocks come from? Like, she sort of looks around, and I mean, admittedly, I'm probably not hard to notice, a green fox. But at the same moment she sees me, I just sort of like, make eye contact with her, and then just very carefully, like, I guess, spit out another small stone and leave it. And I think that's my sort of first attempt to make contact, in a way that hopefully she won't freak out, and run away from me. So yeah, and it looks like it was successful. She doesn't call animal control. She doesn't throw a brick at me. Life is good. Okay. So that's the first round, and 1 success. So then we go on to the next round. And so now that we've got a 10 showing, I'm going to say the next card is going to be, it's tough. Like 10 is almost pretty much in the middle. Gonna say the next card is gonna be lower. Here's hoping. Yes. All right, made my choice. The next card is gonna be lower. Okay. So I've used timid. I think for this next one, I think the next one is going to be cheery, because I'm sort of like bolstered by the fact that this worked. She saw me. She found the object that sort of connects the two of us. Like we had that moment of like we both like these smooth river rocks. She didn't throw a brick at me or call animal control. Like she didn't stick her dog on me or anything like that. So, and I seem to have piqued her curiosity. So yeah, I think I'm in a good mood now. Like I feel good about communicating with her. I'm not sure what to do next. Like river rocks are like, connected to a happy memory, but it is also sort of vague. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world that she's talked to about river rocks, so it's not necessarily that she's going to like connect that directly to me. Like I think we were friends, and I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming she's grieving me, but like actually, I don't even know how long it's been since I died. Like I don't know if this was like I died and instantaneously got shoved inside of a green fox, or like shoved inside of a normal fox and that caused the fox to become green, or like whether my spirit just created a green fox for some reason, or how long any of that took. Like this could be a year later. I don't know. I don't think I would have seen a calendar or anything like anywhere. So, but let's assume that it's been like fairly recently, like fairly close to my death. So, so theoretically, if we were friends in life, like this isn't, yeah, this is definitely a friend. I don't want this to be like a, I had a thing for the barista at my local coffee shop that she never knew about. This is definitely like a friend that I had these feelings for, and because I didn't want to, because it was obviously obvious, or at least I thought it was obvious to me that she didn't feel the same way. I didn't want to say anything because I valued our friendship, and I would rather spend our time. I would have rather have spent my time focused on like the feelings in the relationship that we actually share, as opposed to wasting any time with, feelings that only I had. That is how I personally feel about like unrequited love. So, I think for the purposes of this, we're just going to pretend that like this is me, a fictional, green fox version of me, obviously, but yeah. So anyway, what do I do for this second? I think I need to do something like something that really grabs her attention, something that isn't just like, something that is like, hey, I'm not like other foxes. Like obviously I'm not because I'm green, but I'm not just some like fox that accidentally rolled in like a dye bath. There is a little bit more to, I need to show her that there is a little bit more to this fox than she may have thought. So yeah, I think I spend some time. I think for this one, yeah, I spent some time in like the woods just out back of her house, like the little, I don't know, like maybe there's like a little park area or a little wooded area, and I like grab a bunch of sticks and I start laying them out, and I just lay them out in like my name, my first name, and then I go and I try to get her to follow me, so that she can so maybe she'll realize that like this is me, Um, I don't know. It's simple, but like it's simple and it might not work. But I'm a fox, man. Like I'm sort of limited in what I can do. It's not like I can write her a letter or anything. Unless I come across like like a typewriter out in the woods or something, and like I don't know. I mean that's highly unlikely. So yeah, I think this is my plan. So let's flip the card and see what happens. I'm going to spell my name out in sticks, and then hope. And I think I said lower, right? Yes, I said lower. I said the next card is going to be lower than a 10. Okay, 4 of hearts. Ooh, that's hopeful. Hearts card. Um, so yeah, I managed to get her attention again. Maybe I like show up in her backyard, and when she catches sight of me, I make eye contact and like I stand up and like you see in all of the movies when an animal wants you to follow it, like stand up and like trot a few paces away and then look back and be like, "Hey, yeah, follow me, come on. You want to see where the green fox goes?" Um, and then eventually she comes outside, and so I like go bounding off and make sure to stay in sight, but like lead her to the little clearing where I spelt my name, and maybe there's like some bird has come along and taken away a few of the sticks, so I quickly like nudge a few into like shape and stuff like this. And at first she shows up and she just sees me like sitting in this little clearing, and I'm obviously not afraid of her because I'm not running away. And it takes a second for her to realize like what she's looking at, because like obviously sticks aren't going to stand out much from from the ground a whole lot until she notices that they're in like a pattern, and then she notices what the pattern is and she sees that my name is spelled out in sticks. And I think there's a moment of like she looks at me for a moment and then says my name, and then I think she runs back to the house, um, scared, crying, confused, not sure why, but I definitely communicated with her, but I don't think it was the rousing um, the positive moment, because I think it would be a very confusing, potentially upsetting moment. You follow a green fox into the woods, and it's spelling out the name of your dead friend. Um, yeah, so that's second round. So that's 2 successes out of the 5 that I need in order to. Yeah, so let's move on. So I drew a 4. So I mean, I think I got to say higher, right? Worked last time. So yes, the next card is going to be higher. And I think my guiding adjective for this round is going to be serious. Because I think there's a period where obviously I've communicated to her. Obviously she understands that something strange is going on here. But I think there's a period of time where either she's like seeing me but ignoring me, or might in fact just be like scared and is hiding out in her house so that she won't see me, because that would be confusing and upsetting. Um, but I think there's a chunk of time that goes by where I just don't see her. Like, she doesn't come out. I come by the house. I sit in the spots that I normally sit in, where she's noticed me before. Maybe I'm like just leaving. I'm finding every smooth river rock for miles around, and leaving them on the step, in the hopes that she'll like get the message that I, hey, I need to talk to you, or I'm not scary, and this goes on for a while, and the pile of rocks on her step gets bigger and bigger. And then eventually, I think she one day while I'm in the backyard, maybe, in my usual spot, like just patiently, I think patiently waiting, but like it's not like I'm constantly just staring at the house. I imagine in my fox form, I do still have to like rest and sleep and eat and things like that. So I can't spend every second of every day out here, but I think this is one of those times where I'm just like hanging out, and maybe I'm like taking a nap or something, and then I hear her like come out the back door, and so I perk up, and she sort of sees me. She's looking at me. She comes closer, and like I'm not running away. And as she gets closer, she just like says my name again, and I just like give a nod, and and I think there's a moment where I try to say something, forgetting that I don't have human speech anymore, because it's just like, she's here, and I just say like a bunch of stuff in fox. I just make a bunch of like inarticulate fox noises at her. Yeah. So let's see what happens with that. I said higher, so let's see. Whew. I'm so glad I set aces as a high card. So, yes, ace is high. That is definitely higher than a 4. So yeah, I think this ends pretty successful. I don't think I'm able to communicate anything more to her in this moment, but I've gotten her to trust me, and I think she's believing that I am her friend who has died, which is good. That's what I need. I need her to know that this is me. And so I think this moment ends with like me coming up close, sniffing her hand. Maybe she reaches out and like pets me or scratches behind the ear or something like that, and I sort of like lean into it, and then maybe it ends with me like doing, I don't know, maybe we used to high five or something like that, or had some similar sort of like hand gesture, and I mimic that as the fox, and that sort of solidifies that I am who I am who you think I am. And so that's how that scene will end. Gotta say, I'm doing pretty good so far. This is 3 successes out of the 5 that I need. So, and I pulled an ace. So, it's quickly going to be 4 successes because, I'm going to pick low. Shocking nobody who knows anything about probabilities. I'm going to pick the low card. So yes, the next card will be lower than this. And I think the next guiding adjective that I'm going to use is going to be exuberant. I think that is very fitting because I got her to see me, I got her to trust me, and we're at a point where she believes that I am her friend who has passed. For whatever reason, I've come back as a green fox. So we're at a good point. That was all necessary stuff that has to happen before I can try communicating to her like the message that I need to communicate. Um, what is the next? So, yeah, exuberance. I think there is just a. I think this phase is just going to be like, I need to. I'm just enjoying her company, right? I think she's happy that I'm back in some form. I'm happy to be back in some form. And I mean, yeah, I do love her. Like, I'm in love with her, or I was when I was a human. I don't imagine that feeling would change much as I am now, because if it did, then like I wouldn't still be here. If death stopped me from loving her, then I would just pass on, right? I wouldn't be held back by these feelings, and by the need to communicate them to her. Um, so I think there's just this period where like I'm just hanging around, and we're like enjoying. And she's like talking to me, and like so I mean, she's getting some closure about the whole thing. I'm sure, regardless of how I actually died, we were friends, and this was obviously going to be traumatic for her. So, right, she gets a chance to sort of like properly say goodbye to me, um, and like talk to me and try and like um, and like ask me questions, and I try and answer as best I can. Like I think we work out like a simple like yes no thing where like I don't know, lift your left paw if it's yes and your right paw if it's no. I realize I just totally did that backwards, although from your point of view it won't be. um, and so yeah, I think we've rudimentary communication, but still not enough, because unless she actually asks me like, you know, are you stuck here because you love me, the yes no thing isn't going to get that message communicated, right? Like, um, and unless I can somehow like shift her to asking that question, or to like asking more detailed questions, or unless I can find some other way of communicating with her. Um, but so I think, yeah, as excited and exuberant as we both are about like this being able to like meet again and carry on our friendship a little bit, as weird as it is, um, I don't think there's actually much that happens during this. Um, but we'll flip the next card. It will be lower because unless it's another ace, everything is going to be lower. As soon as I said like another ace, I was so scared that it was going to be like another ace. Luckily, it wasn't. It was an 8. But that's almost worse because like, oh jeez. Okay. So yeah, I think this fourth successful round is just the two of us reconnecting, right? And she's getting to know me a little bit better as a fox, and sort of figuring out sort of how I communicate now. So she has a better understanding. So I think going into this 5th round, I'm going to say, damn it, I'm going to say higher. And I'm going to say that the guiding adjective is hopeful. Because we've reconnected, we've sort of built back a relationship. We're communicating to a degree. And I think I feel hopeful about like being able to get this message across. And if I can't get the message across, I mean, is it the worst thing in the world that I continue hanging out with this woman that I'm in love with as a green fox? I mean, no. Really, there's no downside. I mean, like, yes, I'm trying to communicate this thing so I can, like, give us both some closure and move on. But like, do I need to move on? So I think the hopefulness is both like there's a better chance than there previously was of communicating with her about how I actually feel or how I felt. But also the future doesn't look so bleak now that we've sort of connected and she's accepted me. And so also I'm going to say that like at some point she finds like, because they have those things now where you can train your dogs to press little like buttons, and when they press down in the button it'll say a word or it'll say a letter. You can get like pads that have a bunch of those buttons, and they'll say things like, feed me, need to go out, walkies, that sort of thing. And you can also get like spelling pads so they can spell out words. And you can train your animals to use these, and they'll actually know what. It's incredible. So I think at one point she like figures out how to do that, maybe with like, doesn't go out and necessarily like buys one of those pads, but figures out how to like do like something on the laptop or something on the computer where I can like tap buttons, and they're hooked into macros that'll like and I can like get my message out that way. So let's flip the card. I chose higher. If it's higher than an 8, then this is my 5th success. And we move on. When I flipped it over and saw that it was a numbered card, I was so worried that it was going to end up, and it is a 9. So by the skin of my teeth, and it's a 9 of hearts, which given the situation and the story that I've been telling so far, is apropos. So yeah, I think once she sort of I've gained her trust, and she believes that I am who she says she is, or she believes I am who, I am her dead friend returned as a green fox, which is like, that old chestnut. We figure out a way to like, basically I can type into like a Google Doc, or something, and like she figures out like, oh, you still remember how to like spell and stuff in English, and it's like, yes. And once we figure that out, we're able to figure out like, maybe she finds me like a joke keyboard somewhere, like someone has made. I'm sure someone has. I haven't looked for one for any reason, but I'm sure someone has made like a computer keyboard that is actually just like 3 or 4 or 5 times the size of a regular keyboard, for whatever reason. And so we find something like that I'm actually able to, like the wolf paws, I can do the one paw typing, and I'm able to successfully communicate with her. I'm able to tell her like, I was in love with you when I was alive. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that sooner. I didn't think you had those feelings for me, and I didn't want to risk ruining our friendship by like making you believe that I was only hanging around because I was hoping that your feelings would change. because that is not the case. I was 100% on board for this friendship, and yeah, we're able to have this conversation back and forth. I mean, it's entirely possible, depending on like how quickly I can type, that we could actually have a conversation, because you can do like type to voice program, right? Like like speech to text, but reversed text to speech is a thing. So I think, yeah, we were able to have this conversation, and um, and yeah, we're each able to get some closure, and it comforts her a little bit to know that that somebody like loved her like that, and that she's able to, that if it happened once, it'll happen again. There's like 8 billion plus people on the planet, so statistically, if one person has fallen in love with you, someone else will as well. And then it's just a matter of whether or not you love them back. So, and that of course brings me the closure that I needed. I was able to finally like pass this message on. And I think I move on, but not like, it's not like my spirit goes away and this like green fox disappears or anything like that. I think it's more that having told her like it's okay now, I can now decide whether I'm going to stay here as a green fox. And maybe there's like a period of time where I do stick around, and just like hang out and we talk and stuff like that. But I think there's also a point at which I recognize that, okay, I need to not be here anymore, because she needs to be able to move on. And it's just right. Like there's, it's a time to end things. It's properly the time to bring things to a close so that we can both sort of move on to whatever is next. And so I think one day the green fox just leaves the house, disappears into the woods, and is never seen again. And that is Lingering, by Meghan Cross. Beautiful little solo TTRPG. As you can see, like very, very quick to play. Although could have gone like, I had very good luck pulling the cards. So it could have gone like very, very poorly for me. It could have gone in a completely different direction. So I was lucky that it did not. But yeah. That is the game. It is as simple to play as that. There is a 2-player variant, so if you would prefer, Lingering can be played as a 2-player game rather than a solo journaling game. To do this, one player will play the animal and the other will play the human they are attempting to communicate with. To play it this way, you set up the setup questions will be answered together by both players before play. During play, mechanics will function the same as they would for solo game, but rather than prompts for each attempt being answered in journal form, players will use the prompts as the basis for scenes that they will then role play together. So yeah, this is a fun little game if you want to sit down with a friend and play it. And there's also like a number of, so there's some guiding questions if you need them. Where are you? Is there anyone present other than yourself and the person you were seeking to communicate with? I mean, I kept things very simple just by keeping it to like myself, but this could have been in like an area where there could have been like neighbors around who would have seen me. Maybe the neighbors have dogs, right? Like a regular fox would have got their attention. A green fox definitely would have. Ending the game. Once the 8 rounds are over and your success has been determined, use the prompts below to describe the final scene. Oh, okay. So, yeah, describe the moment when your unfinished business has been settled and you were finally able to pass on and find rest. What are your final moments with the human like? How do you say goodbye? Well, we covered all of that. We sort of did that instinctually. And then if you were unsuccessful, describe the moment when you realize that you won't be able to get your message through and give up trying to communicate with the human. What is the last thing you do before you move on? How do you feel about the human as you leave? How long do you wander before trying to find someone new to help you? So that's interesting, right? Like, if I had failed in this attempt, like, what do I do now? Like, who do I go and find to help me with this, right? Like, what will I do differently? Because I'm still a green fox, right? Like, she's she's my friend and was inclined to want to believe that I was back in fox form. Who else do I go and find? Like, do I have another friend that, like, maybe would believe that I'm back? And, you know, and then it's sort of like having to do that tough thing of like, well, now I've got to convince this other friend that I am in fact who I say I am. And then once I've done that, I need to communicate with them like, well, okay, I need you to go and tell this other person how I feel. And they'll be like, well, why didn't you tell them yourself? And then I will have to explain, well, I tried and screwed up. So yeah, there's the interesting possibilities for like continuing to play the same situation out, like play the same character out. And the 2-player variant, I like that a lot. That is a wonderful little like scene building thing that you can do with a friend that I think is really beautiful. And it's just a lovely little game. Meghan makes some really awesome games. Meghan has like a whole Session Zero series of games that is actually collected together now into one that is really good. For like building out characters and building out setting and stuff like that for your tabletop role-playing game. So I highly recommend checking that out. I will put the link to, done it once, but I will put the link to Meghan's, there we go, Meghan's itch page in the chat. And if you're not in chat and you're just watching this on YouTube later on, it is meganlynnftw.itch.io. That is MEGHANLYNNFTW. That link will also be, if you're watching this on YouTube, that link will also be in the show notes, so you can find it there. But that is Lingering by Meghan Cross, and this has been the first night of Extra Life Tabletop Weekend. So thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you coming out and watching. If you enjoyed this game, please do consider making a donation to Extra Life. It would be greatly appreciated, and of course it enters you in a prize draw. I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That is 9 a.m. Pacific or noon Eastern. We'll be playing some more tabletop role-playing games tomorrow morning. My first game is going to be The Mystery of Addie C, in which I will be a paranormal investigator, exploring, like spending 13 nights to explore all 13 rooms at a haunted bed and breakfast. So that's it's another different type of journaling game, and we'll basically just play through and tell some spooky stories together.